19 storms, 7 hurricanes, 4 of them major. None came close to our coast. But it's a new year, and the first storm has been named.
But now it is weakening, now a tropical depression.
It's a season marked with memories of South Florida's worst nightmare.
We have nothing now.
20 years later, and we're more equipped than ever.
You can see it coming here, right here.
But are you prepared to survive the storm?
Welcome to News Channel 5's Hurricane Special, Surviving the Storm. In the next 30 minutes, a storm team will provide you with important information to keep you and your family safe before, during, and after a storm. From the predictions for this upcoming hurricane season, the new changes that could affect your evacuation plans, on how social media is helping to keep you informed during a storm, and 20 years after Hurricane Andrew, how the storm has changed the lives of those who lived through it forever. Last year was the 6th consecutive year that a major hurricane did not make landfall in the U.S. With 2 named storms out of the way and another area that we're watching in the Gulf of Mexico, the 2012 hurricane season is well underway and is expected to be somewhat active again. Let's take a look at what's in store and the factors that could change the upcoming forecast. Of wind and storms, hurricane season is here. Watching the tracks of last year, it would be difficult to name one. You might remember Irene, the storm that fizzled as it slammed into New York City last summer. 2011 tied for the 3rd busiest hurricane season on record. La Niña and warm water, the big driver for a busy hurricane season last year. But weather patterns have changed. Watching the La Niña disappear, we may just see an El Niño by late this summer, a sure sign of a quieter season. And the engine for hurricanes, the warmer water, is not as noticeable as last year. The 2 big seasonal hurricane forecasters are NOAA and Colorado State. Their numbers match up closely and predict an average or slightly below average season. But outgoing National Hurricane Center Director Bill Reed says don't concentrate on the numbers.
My professional opinion is that it doesn't even matter on the number. The challenge we have is this going to be a year that the big storm hits you?
As we move forward through the years, it becomes important from time to time to tweak some of the forecasting tools that have been in place for a while. Such is the case with the Saffir-Simpson scale, which, as most of you know, is used to categorize hurricane strength. The scale ranks hurricanes into 5 categories based on wind speed, starting with Category 1 at 74 miles per hour and Category 2 at 96 miles per hour. Those 2 weren't changed, but the new adjustments come into play when you get to the major hurricanes, Categories 3, 4, and 5. Meteorologist James Wieland joins us now with what you need to know about these changes.
This year, the Saffir-Simpson scale gets a little adjustment. The National Hurricane Center adjusted the categories to more correctly fit the rounding from converting knots to miles per hour. Now a Category 5 hurricane starts at 157 miles per hour. The forecast cone is also shrinking again this year due to increased accuracy. It will be about 8% smaller. Other more significant changes coming this year are in evacuation zones.
Our premise is that you run from surge, you hide from wind. So all of our evacuation is based on surge.
And starting this year, the evacuation zones have changed.
Science technology has evolved since the last time we did the evacuation zones. So they went out and collected new information about how high the land is.
Which is very important to predict how high the water will get, plus
advances in our understanding of meteorology and how to predict storm surge have evolved. You know, we've gotten better at this. So we incorporated those advances into our methodology. So it's a combination of the new data and a combination of the new modeling approach.
Palm Beach County Emergency Management took that data and came up with 5 different evacuation plans, resulting in a reduction in the number of residents required to evacuate. It's a far more accurate plan that pinpoints each neighborhood. Not everyone needs to evacuate, even in a Category 5. It's important that only the people that need to be evacuated leave, or else there could be big problems on the roadways.
The people that we need to evacuate combined with people that don't need to evacuate, just clogs the roads and delays an efficient flow of evacuation.
It's important to note that insurance rates will not be affected by the new evacuation maps. It's the flood maps issued by FEMA that impact homeowners' insurance. Those maps are not changing.
What started off as a slow hurricane season turned to anything but for South Florida.
Well, I was just totally shocked. I couldn't believe how it totally destroyed it.
Coming up, we return to the epicenter of Hurricane Andrew and see how life for South Florida has changed 20 years after the storm. The year was 1992, and all was quiet in the Atlantic. That's until a small storm turned into South Florida's worst nightmare, a Category 5 hurricane headed right for the peninsula. On August 24th, the fury of the storm made landfall.
Right now, all of South Florida is at the mercy of Hurricane Andrew.
Everything in its way was destroyed. Hundreds of thousands were left homeless and desperate for help.
I'm crying. This is what we have. Our home. We have nothing now.
Help arrived, but the loss was too great. Life for many had changed forever.
Even if you didn't live in South Florida during Hurricane Andrew, you likely remember what at the time was the costliest natural disaster in U.S. history. The storm struck the Bahamas, Florida, and eventually Louisiana, claiming 65 lives. 26 of them were a direct result of the storm, which was considered extremely low due to the destruction it caused. 160,000 people were left homeless, and it caused more than $26 billion in damage. NewsChannel 5's Michael Williams covered the build-up to Andrew and the long aftermath of that disaster. 20 years later, he went back to a neighborhood that was the epicenter of Hurricane Andrew's wrath to show how it reshaped one community and our approach to storm preparations forever.
It scared a lot of people.
John Burgounier will remember the 20th anniversary of Hurricane Andrew in the same place where he survived it, his home in the neighborhood called Country Walk.
Well, I was just totally shocked. I couldn't believe how it totally destroyed it.
His snapshots fade with time. His memories do not. Burgounier's roof, his home, was stripped away one piece at a time while he, his mom, his dog, and neighbors cowered inside.
The whole roof was gone.
Andrew leveled South Miami-Dade, and Country Walk became synonymous with the catastrophe. Many fled for good after Hurricane Andrew. Burgounier endured.
I took the house all the way down to the slab and rebuilt it from the slab up.
Andrew laid bare flimsy construction and shoddy inspection standards. Fast forward 20 years. A lot has changed, says Chuck Lanza, an emergency management expert.
The construction's substantially better?
Substantially, yeah.
That it is?
Oh, yeah, no question about it. The hurricane ties alone, the straps have
on
been
the roofs.
Significant. Yep.
Roofs back then didn't have hurricane ties to keep the roof anchored.
Correct. And now all the houses have to have shutters on them of some sort.
Today, Lanza runs Broward County's emergency management office. When Andrew hit, he ran Miami-Dade Fire's emergency medical services. Disaster response coordination also changed after 1992.
But we have to be sending the right message to the state and federal government. They need to know what we need and when we need it and where we need it. During Andrew, there was so much chaos going on that it really wasn't easy to focus all of our resources.
But for all of the positive changes in the nearly 20 years since Hurricane Andrew struck, there do remain the concerns. There are millions more Floridians living on our crowded peninsula now, all potentially in the path of the next big one. And inevitably, there is the complacency that sets in, no matter how painful the memories.
Now, we're only as good as the last event, and as that gets further away, we kind of forget the lessons that we learned.
John Burgounier needs no reminders about storm preparations. One awful lesson for him is enough for a lifetime.
Once the wind got in under the roof, it really did a number to the place. It's hard to believe the destruction of Mother Nature. There's no doubt about it.
Then and now, a message and a warning to heed. In Southwest Miami-Dade, Michael Williams, WPTV News Channel 5.
Because of the exceptional and widespread damage, the name Andrew was retired in the spring of 1993 and will never again be used as an Atlantic hurricane.
As you just heard, Andrew shaped the way we prepare for hurricanes today. Many believe the widespread damage left by the storm could have been prevented with the installation of hurricane shutters. When placed properly over windows and doors, they're the first line of defense against a storm. The shutters are made with either wood or aluminum, and they attach to the walls of your windows and doors. From storm panels to colonial and Bahamian styles, there are several kinds to choose from, but window experts tell us that the accordion style is the one most homeowners go for.
These are our accordion shutters. These are probably the most popular type of shutter that we install. The ease of use to the consumer is actually probably the best bang for your buck. It's as easy as that, and the price point is probably between $6,000 and $10,000 for the whole house.
Impact-resistant glass also became popular after Andrew. It can withstand hurricane winds of up to 200 miles per hour and flying debris. Unlike some shutters, there's no extra work and it goes unnoticed.
Watches versus warnings. Do you know the difference? We'll explain so you know what to do when one gets issued. Plus, helping those who can't help themselves in the time of a storm.
You may remember the power of Hurricane Wilma back in 2005. The storm left 6 million people in the dark for days. Wilma was the last major hurricane to make landfall in the U.S. Even though that was nearly 7 years ago, now is not the time to get complacent. You can count on the storm team to bring you up-to-the-minute reports on the air as the storm approaches and as soon as a watch or warning is issued. Watches and warnings are issued by the National Hurricane Center when a storm is threatening land. A tropical storm watch is issued when the winds are at least 39 miles an hour. They're usually issued when those tropical storm force winds are within 48 hours. This is the best time to prepare. A tropical storm warning is issued when winds are expected in the affected area within the next 36 hours. By this time, preparation should be completed. When there's a hurricane watch, that means winds of 74 miles per hour or more are possible. Because it's harder to prepare your home once tropical storm force winds pick up, hurricane warnings are issued 48 hours before those expected winds. Similar to hurricane watches, hurricane warnings are issued 36 hours before tropical storm force winds are expected. That way you can prepare immediately and evacuate your family if the orders are issued.
Way before warnings are issued, you need to have a plan in place, regardless if you're going to evacuate or if you're going to ride out the storm. Emergency management officials say that you should review your plan now and go over it with your entire family.
If you live in Florida, you could get hit by a hurricane, and the things that you do today to prepare yourself and your family are going to pay huge dividends.
Check with your county Office of Emergency Management now to see if you live in an area that you'll need to evacuate. For those living in Palm Beach County, remember those maps have just been updated. If you do live in one of the evacuation zones, go ahead and decide where you're going to go. Do it now. And make sure it's outside the evacuated area. Make sure to leave early enough and have an alternative evacuation plan too. If you don't have to evacuate or decide not to, make sure you have everything you need to ride out the storm. That should include putting together a good hurricane supply kit for your home.
Let's go over some of the basic supplies for your hurricane kit. Drinking water. You should have enough drinking water for 3 to 5 days. As far as food goes, you want to make sure you have lots of canned goods, some dried fruits and nuts, paper plates, and Plastic cups, always a good thing, and plastic utensils are a very good idea also. Next on the list is hygiene. You can use wipes. We have an abundance of wipes in this house. One other thing you might consider doing is filling up your bathtub with water. That helps a lot. That gives you water to bathe with for 3 or 5 days. You also want to make sure you filled all of your prescriptions. You should have at least a 2-week supply of your prescriptions, just in case. It's a very, very good idea. And you want to have a first aid kit. For cooking purposes, you should make sure you have some charcoal handy and also some matches. Some things that might be pretty obvious to you. You need a flashlight and some batteries for the flashlight. I know that sounds kind of elementary, but you should have some of both. And a couple more essential things. You should also have some cash handy, ready to go, as well as your personal documents or copies of your personal documents, like your passport, things like that. Put them in the kit so they stay safe. You should also have a fully charged cell phone. Make sure all your cell phones are charged and ready to go. And if your cell phone has a camera, that's great. If it doesn't, you should have a camera just in case you need to take pictures of any damage to your home or property.
During a storm, a Red Cross shelter should be your last resort. Do not go until you hear from officials that shelters have opened. They will be crowded, so make sure you bring pillows and blankets, food, water, and any prescription medicine you're taking. Toys for your young ones to keep them occupied too. And remember, no pets, alcohol, or firearms are allowed.
Shelters fill up quickly when a hurricane is bearing down on South Florida. That's why emergency managers encourage caretakers to pre-register special needs patients. Special needs patients are those who require items such as medical equipment, medications, or have debilitating diseases like Alzheimer's or cancer. To make sure your family members are safe during a hurricane, the first thing you should do is contact your local health department.
Let us know what you need. Let us know the best facility to assign you to, and we'll take care of the rest from there.
Now is the time to ask about shelter locations in your area and complete the necessary paperwork.
We have people that will walk them through the whole procedure. That's getting the vital information, where they live, what their medical needs are going to be, as well as then a physician.
And we can't forget about the other members of our family, but they are only allowed at certain shelters.
Shelters typically do not accept pets unless they're service animals.
Only a few pet-friendly shelters exist in our area, like this one at the West Boynton Recreation Center. That's why it's so important for you to get your pet registered early. Your local veterinarian should be able to help you find a shelter, but it's up to you to make sure their stay is comfortable by bringing your own supplies.
That includes having the appropriate sized housing for the animal, the right food, your meds, identification for the animal, proof that you own the animal just in case you do get separated.
While shelter workers say they won't turn away people or pets in need, taking the time to prepare now makes evacuating that much easier.
Social media, it's part of the daily routine for many, and now it has a role in hurricane season. Coming up, find out how Facebook and Twitter will keep you informed before, during, and after a storm.
Between the Facebook posts from your favorite uncle and longtime crush, you could soon find the latest updates from the National Hurricane Center on storms in the Atlantic. All you have to do is click like.
Browsing Facebook and Twitter used to be a way to kill time, but now it could save your life. The National Hurricane Center started using social media last year as a way to keep the public informed during approaching storms, and their first year proved to be a great success.
Last year we started with Facebook and Twitter, which I think actually opens the door for reaching even more of the general public. Last year it was very interesting to watch the number of people that liked the National Hurricane Center as the season progressed. Each storm we got, we had a little bump up of the number of new likes. During the week of Irene, we actually had 68,000 new likes during that week.
Although the use of Facebook has been successful, the National Hurricane Center still relies on local media because news and radio outlets are still the first and best way to receive storm information.
I've been at the Hurricane Center for almost 20 years, and I think the internet age really got us into a way for us to communicate more directly with the public. We certainly partner with the media. We couldn't do it without the media and emergency managers to get the message out and also tell people how to respond.
Moving forward in an ever-evolving culture of instant information hasn't been easy, but the National Hurricane Center is trying to stay ahead of the curve to achieve their goal of saving lives by keeping the public prepared.
You can also receive local updates on any storms during this year's hurricane season by following the members of Storm Team 5 on Facebook and Twitter.
We've given you a lot of important information, but it's only half. After the break, everything you can do to keep your family safe this hurricane season. Welcome back. We are dedicated to keeping you informed before, during, and after a storm, on the air and on the web. Our Hurricane Plus section on our website, WPTV.com, is dedicated to all things related to the upcoming hurricane season. It features a live, interactive Viper hurricane map, important emergency information like shelter locations, those new evacuation maps, and other consumer-related tips. It also includes a copy of our 2012 WPTV Hurricane Survival Guide. You can also pick up a hard copy at Publix grocery stores throughout our area. Remember, we've already had 2 named storms, so now is the time to do your part and prepare. Get your plan together. At the first sign of a storm, our storm team will do its part to track the direction it's taking and the strength it's gaining with our live Viper 5 HD minute by minute. And you can count on us to bring you life-saving information on the air, web, and through radio and newspaper partnerships. Thank you for joining us tonight.